In what sense is our society male-dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men, women do more unpaid labour.
A huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. Where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
Do you have something to say that you're not saying? If you do, then it's your fault. This is your fault. It's your problem. And you might say, well, I'm too afraid to talk. It's like, fair enough. How afraid are you not to talk? You know, people say to me frequently, they compliment me on my bravery. And I think, you don't understand. I'm not brave. I don't like conflict. I'm way more afraid of losing control of my tongue than I am of the consequences of saying what I have to say. Because I know what happens when we allow other people to control our tongues. It's not good. It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. How many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be. And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. You know, give credit where credit is due. Your job as a parent is to make your child socially desirable by the age of 4. Like you want to burn that into your brain because people don't know that. That's your job. And here's why. It's easy if you think about it carefully. So you imagine you've got a 3-year-old child, so sort of halfway through that initial period of socialization, and you take that child out in public. Okay, what do you want for the child? Who cares about you? What do you want from the child? You want the child to be able to interact with other children and adults so that the children are welcoming and smile and want to play with him or her, and so the adults are happy to see the child and treat him or her properly. And if your child's a horrible little monster because you're afraid of disciplining them or you don't know how to do that properly, then what they're going to do is they're going to experience nothing but rejection from other children and false smiles from other parents and adults. And so then you're throwing the child out there into a world where every single face that they see is either hostile or lying. And that's not something that's going to be particularly conducive to the mental health or the well-being of your child.
If you're reasonably attractive, you'll be able to try out 5 people. That's it. That's what you've got. You know, because it takes a while to find someone, and then it takes a while to get to know them. And finding them and getting to know them, that's probably something approximating 1 to 2 years. And if you do that 5 times, that's 10 years, and that's your fertility window. And so you think you have time, but that's a delusion. And you think the right person will come around. Well, first of all, that's a delusion to begin with, because you build a relationship, you don't find one.
You want to help someone. The best way to help someone is not to give them advice, but to listen to them. If you say the truth and nothing else, you'll have an immense adventure as a consequence. You won't know what's going to happen to you, and you have to let go of your clinging to the outcome. You have to let go. But the truth will reveal the world the way it's intended to be revealed, and the consequence for you will be that you'll have the adventure of your life. And the other part of that ethos is this, and it makes perfect sense to me. I can't see how it can be any other way, which is that whatever makes itself manifest as a consequence of the truth is the best possible reality that could be manifest, even if you can't see it. The reason we get married is because, all things considered, we think that it's better to be with someone than not to be. You're happier, you're more productive, you're more generous, you're a better person, but you're also more resilient in the face of catastrophe, if there's not just one of you. Okay, so that seems reasonable. Father. Well, why bother? Well, partly because it's your responsibility, let's say, but partly because if you don't bother,
well, you're missing out one of the great adventures of your life. There isn't a better relationship that you can have than with your children if you're wise and careful.